Chapter 12 is about economics and politics. Economics has to do with economy, the production of goods and services and their distribution and their enjoyment. And politics has to do with who makes decisions and how they're made. Usually it's associated with government, although there's plenty of politics in the private sector too, in any institution. Big corporations, for example, are intensely political. But usually when we use the term politics, we refer to governments, state governments, local governments, national government. But economics has to do with work. It has to do with production of things, production of goods, production of services, and things of that sort. Economics, the study of economics is something that sociologists have to engage because it involves how people live and how they relate to each other. And much of how we live depends upon how we're organized and who makes the decisions in our society. And that's what's called polity or politics. Different countries and nations have different kinds of economic systems. There are some big, broad types across these. For example, capitalism has to do with private ownership of production, private ownership of factories and stores and markets, and people making profits from those because they own them and they've invested in them. And socialism has to do with state or public ownership of the means of production. That means state ownership of things like mines and railroads and hospitals and schools. Those are things that socialists insist are important, that there be public control of the economy rather than private control of the economy. There are advantages in capitalism that have to do with the capacity to be entrepreneurial, to invent things, to create new methods of dealing with the production of goods and services. Capitalist countries tend to produce a lot of riches, but there are problems of distribution. And once that riches is produced, problems of who gets it and who makes use of it. The socialists concentrate on the distribution of all of that production. They concentrate on making sure that some folks don't profit too much from production, and that all of the profits are distributed much more equally in the population. So socialist countries tend to have pretty good public services, pretty good health care, pretty good schools, but they don't tend to have the higher standard of living that we do in the United States, Japan, or Canada, or Western Europe, which have strong capitalist sectors in our economy. We are not entirely capitalistic. For example, we do have Social Security, which takes up a good chunk of our economy, more than anything else. And that includes unemployment, includes retirement of old people, and it's very expensive. And now we have Medicare and Medicaid, which involve the uses of the same instruments of Social Security, but for health purposes. So you will find that our country, too, has some socialist tendencies in the sense that we do have Social Security and health care. But you should know that there are also many rich people in our country that have profited in an extraordinary way from their capacity to invest and to make money and to make profits. And then there are very poor people. Not all people have access to education in our country the way the rich do. It's reflected in the kinds of schools that people go to. Also, it's true in terms of health care. So capitalist countries are innovative, tend to produce extraordinary riches. Our gross national product is enormous compared to other countries in the world. But we do have a problem of distribution of those resources in terms of who gets to enjoy all of that riches. Capitalism and socialism. There's been plenty of conflict over that. And there will be, for example, in the election coming up in the Congress here very shortly, just as there was over the election of our president a couple years ago. Those are issues that will be present politically and economically, and that's what that chapter is about. Chapter 12, Economics and Politics. Hope you enjoyed it. I look forward to having a discussion with you about the issues associated with matters of economy and matters of polity.